know those couples who say they don't need anniversaries to show love? Yeah, I used to believe that. Until the day my husband, Mark, made it painfully clear just how unnecessary I had become. It started like any other Tuesday. Rain tapping against the window. Coffee brewing. I was humming to myself, wrapping a small box with a silver ribbon. Inside, a pair of cufflinks engraved with our wedding date. The date he promised to remember forever. 10 years. A decade. Double digits. Baked his favorite lemon cake. I even lit those little floating candles in the tub, the ones we never used because, according to him, they were too extra. I laid out the dinner table with his grandmother's china. I went all out, like a fool. By 6, the candles were drooping, the food was cold, and I was drinking wine alone. He didn't even text. At 7:42 p.m., the front door creaked open. Mark strolled in, loosened his tie, kicked off his shoes, and glanced at me, like I was a piece of furniture. I waited, and waited. Nothing. Not a word, not a flicker of recognition. Cleared my throat. Hey, anything special about today? He blinked at me like I'd asked him to recite the Gettysburg Address. Tuesday. That's when something snapped. I mean, I expected a late arrival. Maybe a rushed apology. But this? Total oblivion? I laughed. Out loud, which startled him. He looked at me like I'd lost my mind. Maybe I had. Or maybe I finally found it. You forgot, I said calmly. Completely. He gave a sheepish grin. Babe, I've had a long day. And apparently a very short memory. He rubbed his temples. Okay, look, I'm sorry. We'll do something this weekend. Fancy dinner? Your choice. I stood up, slow and steady. You think I want a pity reservation because you were too busy to remember the day we got married? It's not that serious. Wrong answer. I picked up the untouched cake and calmly dumped it into the trash. Then I started blowing out the candles one by one, like I was extinguishing whatever was left of us. He watched, confused. Mildly amused. Mark always did have the emotional depth of a houseplant. You know, I said, pouring myself another glass. I spent hours preparing. Today. I wanted it to be special. I said I was sorry, Alice. Don't make this a big deal. Oh, Mark. It was already a big deal, just not in the way he thought. That night, while he snored beside me like a dying lawnmower, I opened my laptop. Google search bar. Divorce attorney near me. Click. Booked. I wasn't angry. I was clinical. Precise. The way you get when something inside you quietly dies, and you realize you've been watering a dead garden for years. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. But I did plan. And if Mark thought forgetting our anniversary was bad, he had no idea what I was about to forget in return. His name. The next morning, Mark kissed my cheek like nothing happened. I watched him tie his tie in the mirror, humming some annoying jingle from a car commercial. He turned, flashed that crooked grin and said, "Don't forget to grab more oat milk. We're out." Oat milk. He remembered the oat milk, but not the vows, not the chapel. Not the tears I smeared into my veil because I was so sure I was marrying the love of my life. I smiled sweetly and said, "Of course, darling." He left, and I added oat milk to my growing list of grievances. The divorce lawyer's name was Gloria. She had a voice like velvet and eyes like a hawk. No nonsense, no small talk. I liked her immediately. When I explained my situation, she leaned back in her chair and said, "We can make this painless, or we can make this memorable. Your call." I didn't even hesitate. Memorable, please. Mark and I had no kids, no pets, just a mortgage, a joint savings account, and a drawer full of expired wedding invitations from people who had long since divorced. Clean break. But clean wasn't what I was going for. For the next 2 weeks, I played the role of doting wife like I was up for an Oscar. I cooked. I laughed at his dumb stories. I even initiated sex once just to keep the illusion airtight. That one was tough. I should have won something for that performance alone. But while I ironed his shirts, I also moved half our savings into a private account. While I rubbed his shoulders, I cataloged every lie he'd ever told me. And trust me, there were plenty. While I listened to him complain about work, I practiced saying his name wrong. Michael? Marcus? Was it Marvin? By week 3, I had it down. I could stare him dead in the eyes and say, Martin, without so much as a twitch. Best part? He didn't even notice. One night, he mentioned planning a trip to Mexico. Said we needed to reconnect. Said he'd been distant lately. I nodded, sipping my wine, already picturing him on the beach alone, wondering why I never showed up. Because here's the thing about men like Mark. They think forgetting hurts. But forgetting is nothing. Forgetting is passive. I wasn't going to forget him. I was going to erase him. One deleted name at a time. Gloria called me 2 days before the hearing. We're ready. Bring your ID and wear something you feel powerful in. I chose red. That morning, Mark asked why I was dressed up. I kissed his cheek and said, book club. We're reading something intense. I don't think he even heard me. He just said, grab the oat milk on your way back. Oh, I'd grab it all right. And when the judge said, do you, Alice, wish to proceed with the divorce from your husband? Mark? I'd smile politely and say, I'm sorry, who? Let the games begin. Courtrooms are colder than I expected. Not temperature-wise, emotionally. Everything is beige. Beige walls, beige chairs, beige people pretending they care. I sat there in my red blazer, the only pulse in the room, legs crossed, calm as a surgeon. Mark was late. Of course. He burst in 3 minutes before the hearing. Tie crooked, hair slightly damp, probably from whatever last-minute grooming panic he had on the way in. He looked at me and gave a little wink. A wink. Like we were sharing an inside joke. I didn't wink back. He sat beside me, adjusted his cuff and whispered, let's just get this over with, yeah? I turned to him slowly. Absolutely. Marvin. He blinked. I smiled. Did you just call me? Shh, I said, holding up a hand. The judge is here. She was a sharp woman. Black robes, silver hair, glasses perched halfway down her nose like she'd seen every divorce trick in the book. She probably had, but not mine. We stood. Names were read. Proceeding with the divorce of Alice May Carter and Mark Thomas Carter. I blinked, squinting like I didn't quite understand. The judge looked at me. Mrs. Carter, is that correct? I tilted my head. I'm sorry, Your Honor. Who? The courtroom went quiet. Mark let out a half laugh. She's joking. I asked, keeping my gaze on the judge. I don't recognize that name. The judge narrowed her eyes. Ma'am, this is your husband of 10 years. I looked at Mark. Really looked at him. His smug little face. His fading tan line from that work trip last summer. The same cheap watch I gave him 5 years ago when I still cared about. The time he spent with me. I looked back at the judge. With all due respect, I believe there's been a mistake. I have no recollection of marrying this man. Mark scoffed. Okay. This is ridiculous. The judge held up her hand. Let her finish. I folded my hands. I remember my wedding day. I remember the vows, the music, the scent of lavender in my bouquet. But I don't remember him. Not the man who forgot our anniversary. Not the one who made me feel invisible for years. The man I married isn't here. So no, I don't know this person. Silence. Delicious, awkward silence. The judge cleared her throat. Do you wish to proceed with the divorce? I smiled. Yes, please, immediately. Mark started sputtering. Alice, this is insane. What is this? Some kind of joke? Oh, Mark, I said, slowly rising to my feet. You forgot our anniversary. I just wanted to return the favor. Forgetting is a 2-player game. The gavel came down. Divorce granted. Outside, I walked into the sunshine like it was the first time I'd seen it in years. Gloria met me on the courthouse steps with a grin. You did it, she said. I nodded. No, I erased it. And as I walked away, red blazer glowing like war paint, I remembered the one thing Mark would never forget. His name, on a restraining order, just in case.